Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody. We are right in the smack dab middle of free agency still, towards the end, getting close to the draft.
Less than a week for the draft. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks to the day, right? Because what day is Friday?
2 weeks from yesterday.
2 weeks from yesterday, and then we're going to get to see all these teams solidify themselves into being playoff contenders or not based off what they do in the draft. And the best part about it is you can also see the teams that ruined their season by horrible draft picks.
Yep. So before we introduce our guest, I just want to say, did you guys see that they had like a TV show for the people that are going to be at the draft?
Oh.
Like the people being drafted that are going to be at the draft. There's 21 of them. They had a half-hour TV show introducing all the players that were going to the draft.
To be fair, though, and I haven't seen that, but does 21 seem like a very low amount for a first day? I remember years ago there was over 30, 40 players that would attend, but I guess they don't want to.
There's 32 teams picking, so.
But most stay for the second day, too, for round 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. 21 only.
Yeah. So, but today we have Nate with us.
Yep.
He decided to take a little break. Probably take a hour breakfast and then he'll have his hour lunch later. But we got Nate with us. Nate, how you been, man?
I've been good, man. Just living life, trying to follow all this craziness that's happening in the NFL, and just preparing myself for being a dad. T-minus a month and a half, and I will be a dad. So,
damn,
awesome.
Everything good?
Yeah, man, everything's great.
Good.
Going in next week for an ultrasound, and I finally, we get to see her again, and it'll be awesome. Nice.
That's awesome. Congratulations again. Can't wait to see pictures and everything. So, and I know your dad's excited. He's already been, doing the countdown and stuff. So,
yeah, he's beyond excited, I think.
So, all right. So let's get right to it. You mentioned it in, saying hello. Give us your thoughts on this offseason. We've talked to a few people about the offseason. What are your thoughts on the offseason? And give me your biggest, a couple biggest winners and couple biggest losers.
I think this offseason has been absolutely bonkers. Teams are moving contracts in ways they've never done before to sign people. They're printing cash, it seems like, to just get these deals done. And there have been some big surprises. I don't think that the Devontae Adams trade was as big a surprise to me as it maybe was to some other people. He's best friends with Derek Carr. He's talked about wanting to be a Raider before. I think that he knew that Green Bay wasn't going to give him what he wanted financially. I think one of the biggest surprises, though, was the Tyreek Hill trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, after they signed Juju, I've heard people say, well, that was the nail in the coffin. I don't think that was at all. I thought that they were trying to give them a possession receiver to go at the speedster, and I can't wrap my head around that trade fully still. But, he got his big-time paycheck in Miami, and you go from Mahomes to Tua. We'll see what that does. But I think this year, Miami set themselves up in a way that you will 100% without question know if Tua is the guy.
Yeah.
Real quick, since you mentioned Tyreek, not to, stop you or anything, but I asked Christian this last week. Is Tyreek still a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in fantasy?
Because of the big play potential, he can take one pass and score 20 points in fantasy. I think he's still going to be in that top 5-ish range. I don't want to put him in the top 3 because I think his volume will probably go down, especially with the signing of Mostert and the fact that they still have Gaskin and they have all of these running backs now in that running back room. They want to run the ball. Their offensive line is built to run the ball. I think that with Tua, you have to have a good running game because he is very much a play-action quarterback. And I think that that's where his best success is if you look at the numbers. So I don't think that Tyreek's going to have the same volume, obviously, that he got from a team that passes the ball 50 times a game. But he is still a player that can take one catch and go 70 yards and score you 25 fantasy points. You know, if you have your bonus structure set up a certain way in your fantasy league, he's still going to score you points.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I'm willing to put him in the top 3. I would say 5 to 10 is probably where I'd put him. but it's also going to depend on these rookies coming in, where they land.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, Green Bay, right? Green Bay situation with 2 first-round picks. Are they going to draft one of these top wide receivers? Because you'd immediately, if they drafted a top wide receiver, let's just put this into perspective, you would immediately consider, in a way, that wide receiver like we did Jamar Chase or like we did Justin Jefferson or C.D. Lamb. No, well, maybe not as much C.D., but you're going to instantly go after that wide receiver, and you're going to have this decision. Do you take the top wide receiver that's going to Green Bay, or do you go after Tyreek Hill knowing who his quarterback is? That's why fantasy and wide receiver rankings is so interesting every year, because you see Jamar Chase last year was a 4th-round pick. And now he's a keeper, if not a first-round pick. He's one of the first 5 wide receivers to get drafted this year.
Yeah.
I could see it. So that's I would honestly not argue somebody who took Chase before Tyreek Hill.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I can argue that, but all right. So go ahead, Nate. Didn't mean to interrupt, but.
No, I mean, you see some of these teams that have done, massive amounts of work. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders. I mean, the Jaguars brought in anybody with a pulse. I don't think that they're winners just because they did that. I think that they're actually probably losers because they spent money on the wrong people. Like, why are you paying Evan Ingram, who's a person that's known to be injured? You had a tight end in Dan Arnold, who's more than sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
That move doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think they're probably going to try to utilize him more in the slot as opposed to a true tight end because he's not a blocker. So I think you have teams like that. And then you have teams like the team that I support, the Commanders, who virtually have done nothing. And it's massively frustrating when we have these needs at linebacker and Bobby Wagner's on the market. We don't even make an offer. We have a need at safety. We're not in contact with Tyrann Mathieu. We could have used another corner. We haven't contacted J.C. Jackson or Stephon Gilmore or anybody like that. I think that they believe that they're really close, and if you're really close, you should be a team that's in the market to make some of these moves. Now, granted, I know that we kind of pinholed ourselves by making the Carson Wentz trade because we took on his cap, which, did hamstring us a little bit as far as cap space goes, but we still had the money to make moves, and we still had the people to restructure. So for me personally, as supporting my team, I think it's frustrating. I think one of the big winners, well, I want to call them a big winner, but it's still very much up in the air, in my opinion, is the Bengals. They've brought in people to fill their offensive line needs, but are they going to mesh? Offensive line is one of those teams, one of those things where you can have on paper mediocre players, but if they have good camaraderie, they can be a top-tier offensive line. Washington has proved that year over year. Mm-hmm. So it really does come down to a bunch of different factors for them, but I think they did the right thing by trying to protect their franchise quarterback, who was the most sacked quarterback last year and still had the best PFF ranking of any quarterback. So there's a lot of things that have happened this offseason that are, just bonkers. This has been a crazy offseason. It's, as a fan of the offseason and a fan of free agency and a fan of trades, it's definitely been one I've enjoyed. So
yeah, I still think it's one of the best ones I've ever seen. I can't remember. Obviously free agents going places is always what you're going to see, but it's the trades. It's the big time trades. You had a top, what you guys consider a top 5 quarterback being traded. Top 2 wide receivers in the league last year, or top 3 because Cooper Kupp didn't get traded.
Yeah.
And it's just very interesting. I want to circle back real quick on Washington, the Commanders, Nate, and ask you a real quick question. Mm-hmm. If they sign Terry McLaurin to an extension, are you okay with them not going after free agents then this offseason?
Yes.
Okay.
I will be much more okay with that because, in my opinion, if you brought in Allen Robinson or you brought in Odell Beckham or you brought in, name your, free agent wide receiver, all you're saying is, Terry, we love you, but we're not paying. And if you're going to make him one of the focal points of this new era in Washington football, he was one of the people that was there for the jersey release. He's on their background for everything. He's their model. He's their guy. You've got to pay him if he's your guy. Mm-hmm. And I think, and a lot of people I've heard this too, have said if they draft a wide receiver in the first round, that's a surefire sign that they're not going to pay Terry McLaurin. I disagree, because if you have a quarterback like Carson Wentz, who's somebody who's known to throw the ball downfield, you need to bring in another speedy wide receiver because you've got Terry McLaurin, who can run every route and is a speedy wide receiver. You've got Curtis Samuel, who's the ultimate gadget but has speed. You have Diane Brown, nothing but speed. Why not bring in another wide receiver who's going to give you more speed and more flexibility? I mean, if you have the ability to spread out the defense, you're going to win somewhere. Yeah. So I think that they need to send Terry a 5-year deal, and they got to lock him in for the long haul.
Okay. And, I was just interested, because you had said that it's, you haven't been making offers, but I have read that they're negotiating with him on a contract extension, that they're in talks. So, because he's one of the 4, isn't he? Mm-hmm. McLaurin, DK, A.J. Brown, and I'm missing one. One of the 4. Who's the 4th?
Debo.
Yeah.
Yep. And all of them, and they said the one that's going to be the most highly tradable and is on the trade market and won't be re-signed is DK. Mm-hmm. Where as soon as San Francisco decides what they're doing with Garoppolo, you'll know what they're going to do with Debo. And AJ's already been said, the GM and the coach already said he's not going anywhere. Doesn't mean they're going to sign him, but
I think something for me with this free agency that's been extremely, I don't want to say nauseating, but just annoying. It's probably the same thing he feels with the Commanders. Is like Dallas and Washington are like both like top 5 right now in cap space available. I swear, I know we're still around 20 million. I know they got to be over 15. I think last I looked, and I understand, and maybe Nate could correct me because I'm not sure how this works. You have cap space for a reason, right? But isn't there a way that when you re-sign your own players, it affects your cap differently than free agents? So my point is, if a Dallas or you guys have this much money, it nauseates me that you have 5 teams with almost 20 million still doing nothing.
Right.
They're doing nothing.
Here's for me, what I've learned since I've been off for the last couple weeks, watching NFL Network and just hearing about the contracts that are being signed. When you sign, like Derek Carr signed, what happens is he's already under contract.
Yes.
So you sign him to an extension, which makes his this year's cap number less.
Yes.
And so, and it's sort of like a restructure, but you're signing him to the extension. So like the Redskins, the Commanders can probably...
I know. Come on, Mark.
The Commanders can probably sign Terry McLaurin to a big contract extension, making him a top 5 wide receiver,
still have
paid,
money to spend,
but have more money to spend in the long run.
So that's kind of my question. Like he said with JC, sorry, not JC Treader, but like I know you guys don't need line help, but like let's say Tyrann Mathieu was there, Stephon Gilmore just signed, like. Even same thing with Dallas, like Larry Ojenubi's still a free agent. All these people are still free agents that are needs you have, but you have 20 million. You're not re-signing anybody. Same thing with DC. Like, what are you waiting the money for? Because a lot of fans who aren't, I would say, the smartest of fans go, well, they're saving it for the draft. You only need like $5 million for the draft. You don't need $20 million. So I'm wondering, what's the point of DC and these teams saving it for who? Are you waiting till after the draft?
Do you mind if I go first, Nate?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, my opinion on all of that is yes, as a fan, it's got to be nauseating. Why aren't we signing these players? Why aren't we in on these players? My thing is everybody that is left is a seasoned veteran, meaning they're on the verge of old.
Yeah.
You could probably get 1-2 seasons out of them.
Yeah.
And neither your team, Washington, or a bunch of other teams don't want to overpay. So I think you're playing the waiting game.
Yeah.
Now Bobby Wagner would have been a huge signing for either one of your teams. Crippled you in the cap in the next after 2 years, I feel, because yes, he led the league in tackles, I believe. He's a beast, but he's getting up there. And if the defensive scheme doesn't fit, then he doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody like, for me, and I'm a big fan of his, but Dante Hightower.
Yeah.
He might have a good season left in him where he plays half the game.
Yeah.
But if you have a young linebacker core, and especially coming from playing his whole career with Belichick, the Belichick linebackers are coaches.
So that's kind of what I'm wondering is if a lot of these teams are going to draft their futures in linebacker like them, future in these positions like us, and then that's when you say, I retire Tyrann Mathieu. We didn't get the safety we wanted. What will it take? Or what will, do you know what I mean? It's just, but as a fan, we don't need to go out and get the biggest top player. Like, he knows that. Even Nate knows that. You don't need to go get Bobby Wagner. Bring in some sort of a linebacker, not what the Jags did, but then fill these depth, because you don't need a star player, yes, but we don't even have depth at these positions. They're not bringing in nobody, not even 25, 26-year-old throwaways. They're not bringing in nobody.
Right.
And that's what's interesting to me is when you only have right now 2 cornerbacks for Dallas on their roster, because you have one that might be going to jail and you let one go. So you have no corners. What are you doing? And it just kind of, as a fan, I always wonder what they're saving all this for. It makes no sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it like, I'd be bothered. Like, I know the Bengals had, to start the offseason, had, I think, the 3rd or 4th most money.
Yeah.
And we haven't re-signed Jesse Bates, which still bothers me right now. We've signed, I like the fact that Trey Waynes came back.
Yeah.
Because your division has a top tight end. Plus, you play the Chiefs. You play all these teams again that have top tight ends. And in the playoffs, top tight ends, make a difference. And he's a beast against tight ends. All right. Liability everywhere else. You sign Eli Apple to a cheap deal. But if you get one of these rookie cornerbacks in the draft, Eli Apple all of a sudden becomes a role player where he's in and out, and you're able to see what this rookie can do. Where if we signed, say, Gilmore or a J.C. Jackson or this or that, you wouldn't be able to sign Jesse Bates to an extension.
And I'll let Nate go because I know he's probably chomping here. But, like, you saw what the Bengals did. They built through the draft. And then now this year, boom, they're like, we tasted it. We're going to build through the free agency. But then you look at the Rams and you look at all these teams, but that are having success through free agency. And then you look at teams like the Commanders and teams like Dallas who notoriously say free agency is not where championships are made. Yet we've been the 2 worst teams for 25 years. Why? It's almost like sitting here going, he's probably thinking the same thing. Just do it once. You have all this money and you do nothing with it.
Okay.
Like, do you want to be like the Rams and the Bengals? Do you want to be like the teams that, whether they win Super Bowls or not, constantly in the playoffs because they're constantly buying these players for 2 or 3 year deals because you want to get there? You don't want to just say, we want to get the Super Bowl. Yes. You want to get close. And to get close, you have to bring in the players that make you better. And these teams, if DC and Dallas think they're close, I'm sorry, they're not. And I don't understand what they think.
But are you willing, and again, I apologize, Nate, for not letting you speak yet, and let me ask this question, and then we'll let Nate go. Yeah. If you bring in players that do not fit your scheme and do not adjust your scheme to fit the players you bring in, then it's pointless to bring in these players.
Well, I'm not saying bring in players that don't fit the scheme. I'm saying, yes, Bobby Wagner got a lot of money, but we had $28 million when he got paid $12. That's plenty of money, and he literally played for the same defense we have that he has in Seattle. I'm not mad that we didn't get him. I understand, but
you're a little mad.
I was mad at first, but now I understand it's a lot of money. But, like, if you were saying the defense is a focal point and you want to make it better, you had him in town with his coach, and he even came out and said, I would have loved to make it happen, but they didn't respect me with money. And I'm like, but you had $80 million more than the Rams had, and they still got him. And to me, it's probably frustrating to him too because he sees his team doing nothing.
But his team doesn't bring the players in.
I understand. So, we bring them in, and they still don't come back. Go ahead,
I think
Nate.
one of the things that you have to look at with free agency that gets missed a lot. A lot of times, people are just looking at the dollars or looking at the years on the contract. When a player is a free agent, they're looking at a few different options. You have a couple different types of players that have come out throughout the years. You have players that are searching the contract that want the most money, and they want the longevity so that they don't have to move. They want to stay where they want to stay, and they want to get paid as much as they can possibly get paid. Then you have the players that legitimately want to win. And if you've got Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner and Tyrann Mathieu, right? And Allen, let's say Bobby Wagner, for example, was picking between Dallas or LA, who just won a Super Bowl. Dallas, who's been, for lack of a better term, just absolutely a debacle because they win 13 games and then lose in the first round of the playoffs, or they go 7-9. It's like they're always drafting in the middle of the draft and never getting the top-tier player. Or do you want to go to the team that has Sean McVay, that has a GM who's willing to just throw money, move contracts, throw away draft picks to win? You're going to want to go to the place that you're going to win. And Bobby Wagner wants another Super Bowl. So there's a lot of different factors that play into that. And one thing that being a Washington fan with Dan Snyder as the owner for the majority of my life, We brought in Deion Sanders on a stupid contract. We brought in Albert Hainsworth on a dumb contract. We've brought in people just throwing money at names, and I'm personally glad we're not doing that. But at the same time, you got to at least have the visits with the big names. You got to at least figure out, are they going to be the person for you? Is there a deal that we can work out? And in terms of saving cap space, you got to look at it from the perspective of like Dallas knows they're going to have to pay CD if they want to keep him. Dallas knows they're going to have to pay Trayvon Diggs if they want to keep him. And they're going to sign these big mega deals that are coming out with all of these players. So you have, and Dallas and Washington are two teams that have both paid cap penalties in recent years for doing dumb shit with the cap. And there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that kind of fall into this. Well, you can just throw money at a player and they can sign here. So it is a lot more convoluted than just we have money, we should spend it. But I understand the frustration of a Dallas fan or of a Washington fan or of a New England fan that wants a top tier guy. Like, I would be frustrated if I was New England knowing that Dante Hightower is a free agent and we still haven't re-signed him, or we let J.C. Jackson, Mr. Interception, go for not even top dollar. He's making less than Jalen Ramsey, and Jalen Ramsey paid 2 years ago. So it's like, I understand the frustrations of these teams, but also you got to think about it from the perspective of, does this player want to win now? Is this the best situation for them? If they go to LA, are they going to get more screen time than they would if they're the Commanders? Are they going to, and Dallas always gets screen time, but it's been in negative light a lot recently. Yeah. So it's like, do I want to go there?
I think
the Star doesn't have the same shine that it used to have.
No. And I said that 2 episodes ago. I said the same thing. I was like, does the Star, is the shine, is the luster gone? And that's kind of thing where I see what the Jaguars did. Yes, they overpaid for a bunch of bodies. But if you're, and I understand what he meant by the cap, but I'm just sitting here saying, if you're Jerry Jones, maybe, yes, what Nate just said, they're saving money for knowing CD Lamb and that kind of stuff. But part of me also goes, you have him in town. He has his old coach as the defensive coordinator here, and he already talked to the Rams before he came to Dallas. If Jerry wants a guy like that, and remember, he said veteran players trying to prove themselves. Bobby Wagner's only 29, right? 29, 30. He's not old yet.
He's 32.
Wow, he is older than I thought.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I thought you were off.
I didn't think he was that old.
So I got a question for
that
both
makes
of you
sense
guys.
now.
Like, because this is what because the Bengals, I mean, think about the Bengals in your lifetimes, okay?
Terrible.
Yes. Awful.
Yeah.
Okay, Browns-ish. Let's put it that way. Awful. They had a stretch
DC
from,
Dallas-ish,
they had a stretch where they made the playoffs 7 years in a row and everything, but the culture was bad. Okay? Like, they drafted and they brought players in, and they brought in troublemakers or, not, where as soon as Taylor came in, he wanted high character guys. And he wanted to change the culture. And the first thing after his first year the players said is the culture here is changing. Well, you went 1-15. The culture here is changing. You signed a couple free agents that, people were shocked. Well, how did you get a DJ Reader? How did you, he said, talking to Taylor, I see his vision and I want to be a part of it. The next year, they win 4 games. Burrow gets hurt. They bring in high-end free agents with high character. So the culture in the locker room, the culture that the coach and the GM is creating is there. And then, yes, you do have a person like Burrow that probably, it's just like with, Brady or Manning or something like that. You want to play for them, okay? But is it possible that the Star hasn't lost its shine, but the culture in the locker room, the culture that you have is not what players want to be a part of?
I'll let Nate go. Well,
I want to say that to Nate too.
Yeah.
And I know Rivera's trying to change that culture, but you still have the stink of an owner.
So
in
that's what
Daniel
I'm about to
Snyder, where so
right before, real fast, because You're 100% right, and I think he's going to say the same thing. I think the issue is I don't think it's as much locker room for either one of our teams because I've heard many a player say they're TikTok and they're having fun, they're having a great time, they're all brothers hanging out at football, soccer games, locally basketball games. I think it starts at the stink at the top of both of our organizations. I think both the tops of our organizations are dumbasses for very different reasons, obviously, but I both think their stink is starting to stink through every hallway and every corridor and starting to be toxic where people go, you used to be able to say, I get to play for Jerry Jones. No one cares anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not a name. This isn't the 80s and you don't own oil riggeries anymore. It's not the same. And that's what I think I'm going to let Nate go because I want to hear what he has to say about that.
I mean, don't get me started on culture in the workplace as far as DC is concerned. If I was a free agent, I would not want to play for DC for a plethora of reasons. I think that Rivera is trying his best, and Jason Wright is trying their best, and Marty Herney and Martin Mayhew, they're trying to build something. And you have players like John Allen, Terry McLaurin, these guys, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, these guys who are lively that also give a damn, and they want to win. And you see that, and you hang your hat on it. But at the same time, it's hard to convince someone else on the outside, hey, we've got a good culture here inside the locker room. If all they see is Congress is finding out more information about how Dan Snyder was stealing from the NFL and stealing from fans and writing fake ledgers in Roger Goodell's name and sexually harassing women and, telling people, allowing people within the organization to take pictures of cheerleaders topless and, just making this horrible, horrible, horrible culture. It's hard to convince a free agent to want to come here. If I was Carson Wentz, when his presser, he was like, how do you feel about playing in Washington? He was like, I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna, they wanted me, they said they wanted me, so I'm gonna do my best to help them try to change the culture. But ultimately, I would be pissed if I was him and was traded from Indianapolis, who, granted, their owner's also insane, but yeah, it's a little bit better than DC or Dallas. Anything's better than DC. I'm sorry, it's just so frustrating to still be a fan of this team with everything that's going on. And I don't blame free agents for not even wanting to come in for a visit. But at the same time, I don't know that the phone calls are being made.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And that's interesting. And just so everybody knows, he mentioned the Colts. Another AFC team getting richer today. Mm-hmm. Stephon Gilmore signed a 2-year, $23 million contract with the Colts. I know you got a couple. He was one of your names that you wanted to mention, Christian, and everything. But, I mean, it's just, again, the AFC getting richer.
Well, didn't the Colts lose their corner?
They just signed the safety from the Patriots.
But didn't they lose
They traded Rock Ya-Sin.
That's why they – okay. I was like, because they had to go bring somebody in that backfield because they lost
But,
him.
I mean, I'm sorry. Gilmore's still a top cornerback in the league, and
the defense was hurt last year, but that defense is nasty.
Yeah, it's still good,
and it's ridiculous. It boggles my mind that you don't have an NFC team that's, say, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Rams are, but even say the Eagles, the Cowboys. You're letting the AFC get stronger. Now, granted, the NFC won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And the AFC is going to beat the crap out of each other again this year.
Yep.
But, think about these teams in the AFC right now. Mm-hmm. This is ridiculous. In a little bit, we're going to do an AFC draft, like a snake draft of who we think is the top teams. And, we're going to build a team of 4. And to me, it's just mind-boggling. No NFC team is going out there going, all right, this is our window. If we make it to the Super Bowl, we have a chance. The Rams proved it last year. Doesn't matter how strong the division is. We have a chance, and no NFC team is doing that right now.
Yeah.
And it boggles my mind. Yeah. Besides the Rams. I mean, granted, the Rams are printed money they have more money than Monopoly.
Dude, before Bobby Wagner and whoever the other person they signed was, they only $8 million in cap. They had $8 million in cap. And
but they also lost Von Miller off their cap.
Mm-hmm.
did have some big names leave, and they were also able to restructure. Like when Matt Stafford signed his extension, that's the thing about extensions, as Mark was saying, you can defer money to the back end of a contract, but make it voidable money.
Yeah.
So the team is able to get out of these deals. That's why Kirk Cousins is probably the smartest player that's ever played in the NFL, because he keeps signing $38 million guaranteed money deals.
And that's crazy. So
yeah,
but not to interrupt, but
no, you're good. So I have two things before we do the AFC thing, and they're both not just fantasy implication things, but they're both big in the media. So we'll start with the older one first. Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Interesting topic. I don't really have anything to say. I mean, I obviously listened to his video that he had, but what do you guys think about Baker Mayfield? The potential. Where do you think he ends up? Do you think he ends up in one of the two teams that are looking for a starting quarterback, or do you think he ends up on somebody's bench like Trubisky was, waiting a year or two to have that chance to shine again? Do you think he's done as a starter in the NFL?
Nate?
No, I don't think he's done as a starter in the NFL. I think, and one of the things, so the thing with Baker that's frustrating is, right, the Browns had that great year, and Baker played well.
Mm-hmm.
And Baker's rookie year, he set the touchdown record. Like, he's not a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a good or a great quarterback. I think he's a good enough quarterback. And sometimes that's all you need as a team, is a good enough quarterback. And one of the things he said in the video that is correct, and I think that people overlook, is he's had 4 different head coaches, 3 different GMs, 4 different offensive coordinators. He's had all of this stuff change in his career, and it's made it difficult for him. Mm-hmm. Now, at the same time, you had Odell Beckham, you had Jarvis Landry, you have Nick Chubb, you have Kareem Hunt, you had Austin Hooper, David Njoku, you had a top offensive line, you had a top defense. So, yes, did he underperform? 100%. But I think a team like Seattle would be smart to trade for Baker, or wait till he's released and go after Baker Mayfield to have a true quarterback competition with Baker Mayfield, Drew Lock, Geno Smith. Let's figure this out. Who's going to be our starter? Do we need to draft somebody? And maybe they do even draft somebody, because you have the ability to cut Drew Lock. You only signed Geno Smith to a 1-year deal.
Yep.
You have the ability to kind of do these things. So I think a team like Seattle would be smart to go after someone like Baker, who's got a fire lit under his ass. I mean, he does. He has.
Yeah.
He said in that interview, he's like, I'm pissed, 100% pissed.
And
I think that it wouldn't hurt to bring someone like that in.
No, that's what I was going to say.
He's not a starter, but I don't know that he'll get his shot this year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's my opinion. It's an odd year. He's going to ball out. If he gets a chance, he's going to ball out. Okay? And then it's going to be Cleveland made a mistake, and then it's going to be, all of a sudden an even year, and he's going to suck. Think about it. Rookie year, he set the rookie touchdown mark. Second year, they sucked. Third year, he balls out, they go to the playoffs. Fourth year, they're Super Bowl contenders. To every single expert, they said Cleveland is a Super Bowl contender. He sucked. Yes, granted, he was hurt. But now it's the 5th year. I don't think he gets traded, because I don't think anybody wants to pay him that money that the 5th year option pays him.
Yeah.
So I think he ultimately...
So you think he's a June 1st cut?
I think Cleveland has no choice, because I don't think anybody's going to trade for him.
Yeah. Now, I definitely like what Nate said, because that's what I saw. When I saw the way... It's not Lynch. Drew Lock. The way Drew Lock's deal is set up with Seattle is it doesn't seem like he's a future potential there. It feels like it was just part of the deal. They re-signed Geno Smith to a deal almost worth more than Drew Lock's deal is, and then you have potential to take a quarterback like Malik Willis or Matt Corral. They seems like Willis, and then if you also bring in a Baker Mayfield, that's a really crazy quarterback competition there. And really, his best chance is to join a quarterback competition where someone is struggling. Like I know they have the kid in the Bears. I always forget his name right now. Fields. But a place like that where he may be able to come in a place, I don't think he'll win the job. But I don't know if Baker's going to have a team go, we want you, you're our starter. I just don't think it's going to happen that way. I think he's going to have to go out there, like he said in the video, he's pissed. He's going to have to go out there and look at the team and say, I'm going to take this job. Whether you draft a rookie at pick 8 or not, I'm taking the job. Okay. I just thought it was an interesting name.
You also, and like you mentioned, Malik Willis, according to every expert, Malik Willis has a ton of raw potential, but it's raw. And he needs time. And what better way to rebuild but not suck completely than bring in Baker, have Malik Willis sit, and then you have the decision of if Baker balls out, I can trade him for a good amount of draft capital to a team that's going to need a quarterback, because it happens every year a team needs a quarterback.
Yep.
Or, I've got this guy Malik Willis that if Baker balls out and I want to stay with him, we can work something out there. So, I mean, it gives them flexibility. I don't, personally, I'm not a big fan of like overloading your quarterback room, but it doesn't hurt to bring in someone like Baker, especially if he gets cut on a cheap, prove yourself deal and let him prove himself.
Yep.
So my other question was, which I think we may all be in consensus of what's going to happen. Kyler Murray. What are your guys' opinion on Kyler Murray's situation now with him? Obviously, the new thing to do as a giant baby is to unfollow your teams. Everybody does it now. Unfollow the team because I'm a giant baby. But what do we feel? Do we all are in agreements that we all think that he's going to get extended this year before the season starts? Or do you think there's an option of a trade happening of him in the draft? I think that's a stretch, but I just want your opinion because we're 2 weeks before the draft, and he's saying we haven't had any talks about an extension, possibly sitting. Do you think he does that?
Go ahead, Nate.
I think if he doesn't get an extension, he will sit. I mean, I think that Deshaun Watson paved the way for that to happen. You don't want to be somewhere you're not getting what you want, so you sit out. Now, granted, Deshaun Watson ended up having all those sexual assault cases, blah, 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 blah. But, I don't think there's a quarterback or a player in this draft. There's a lot of good talent, but it's a lot of good, like, depth talent, and there's a ton of wide receiver talent and stuff like that, but I don't think that there's a player or a quarterback in this draft that's worth trading Kyler Murray to move up for. So I think it's in the Cardinals' best interest to probably work out an extension, because what's going to happen is Kyler's still got this year and next year that they can pay him rookie money, and then his extension will hit. And then they're in cap hell and they have to figure shit out. But if the Cardinals think that they're a team, I mean, they were 10-0 last year before they lost the game. So this is a team that has talent. They've got a ton of potential, and it's a draft that they can get a wide receiver to pair with DeAndre Hopkins in a way that is probably better than what Christian Kirk was going to give you. And you've got James Conner, you've got a decent offensive line. Granted, you lost Chandler Jones, but you have defensive talent. I think that if they were smart, they would extend Kyler, and I think it's going to happen. Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
I'm a little different on this one, I think.
Okay. That's why I asked the question.
If I'm the Cardinals, play the game. Play the game. He's not top 5 quarterback money. He's not. And if you pay him top quarterback money, you're gonna regret it. This man has never, ever. He started a season 8-0, and they didn't make the playoffs. Last year, best team in the NFL for 10 weeks, and then they tanked. Like, they lost the first round of the playoffs.
And it wasn't that his numbers were still good. They were really bad, too.
Yes, and so my thing is this. You know what you have in him, okay? A player that can be really, really good for half a season and then mediocre at best the rest. If his negotiations are, okay, I'll sign top 10 money, okay. But this isn't fantasy.
Yeah.
And is he a good – he wasn't even a good fantasy quarterback in the second half of last season. So, my opinion is this. You want to sit. That's fine.
They got Colt McCoy still, don't they?
Yeah, but my thing is like, okay, and then we're awful for a year, and then, we have –
No, man, they'll bring in Baker.
But my thing is this: I don't pay him. I don't pay him if he's asking for top money. I don't. And I feel so disrespected that I'm in my 3rd year, going into my 4th year, and they haven't paid me yet. Name a quarterback besides Patrick Mahomes that was going into his 4th year that wasn't paid yet. Josh Allen's won a playoff game. Got paid.
Yep.
Okay, Mahomes won a Super Bowl, got paid. Okay, you haven't won a playoff game. You haven't even sniffed a playoff game to win. You got your asses kicked.
Yep.
Okay, and it's the same thing as, now the Ravens, they didn't sign Lamar to an extension, and you can sort of compare him to Lamar.
Yeah.
Now, the Ravens are in a situation where the Ravens either franchise him next year and then the year after that, because he's already said, if you're not going to get close to these numbers, I don't care. You franchise me. I don't think Kyler Murray's worth it. and I think he's proven it. So I call the bluff here.
I don't want to. I want to kind of say this. I'm not saying that Kyler's necessarily worth top 5 money. That's not what I was saying.
Oh no! I didn't. I don't think it. I'm not saying you guys said that. What I'm saying is if he's asking for that money, I don't pay him. That's my opinion. Like I'll play the game. Like no, you're under a rookie contract right now. You're very tradable, and we could get a lot for you because you'd be able to get Deshaun Watson type trade value out of him because I don't think. Because again, like Nate said, he's under the next 2 years. He's under a rookie contract. You sign him to the extension; it starts in 3 years. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at. But if he says, I want 25, 30 million,
he'll ask way more than that. But yeah, I understand.
But
but the extension would start.
He wants Dak money.
Yeah, but if his extension starts in 2 years. Doesn't that mean he's going to play these next 2? Then the extension starts, so he's going to be playing off the CBA in 2 years. He's going to want $60 million per year.
But the thing is he's going to be playing off of what basically he wants that signing bonus right now.
Yeah, essentially he's going to say,
he wants the signing bonus.
Yep.
And whatever he gets, but my thing is this.
You got to remember, by next year, Dak's deals and those deals mean nothing compared to what these guys are going to sign because of the negotiations. He knows he has 2 years left, then the extension kicks in. He's going to say, what will the deals look like in 2024? That's what I want to know. Because that's what he wants.
If I'm the Bengals and I'm the Chargers.
Do it now.
No, I'm scared.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I'm really scared because,
million.
The contracts that these guys are signing right now. Now, Herbert, in my opinion, isn't. Is going to command money. Mm-hmm. If he can make it to the playoffs, make a run in the next couple years, Burrow keeps doing what he's doing, these guys are going to be paid more than Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And that's scary to me. That's really scary.
And they're going to want their money.
And now if you add into that the wide receiver money that's going out there, like this is scary. Like it's really scary for a team that I root for that has all these young talent that you drafted that most likely, most of them aren't going to be there. And
the window's getting smaller.
The Bengals are the youngest win-now team I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yep.
Yes. Because next year, if the Bengals make the playoffs this year and they make a run again, you have to pay Burrow.
Yep.
You have to. And it's sort of like I read so many articles saying that they have to start saving money now to pay Burrow and Chase. And now think about that. Burrow's in year 3. Chase is in year 2. Mm-hmm. And you're already talking about having to save money to pay these guys. If Chase has another season, like Jefferson, in my opinion, is going to set the wide receiver market because his first 2 years were absolutely ridiculous. I don't think he slows down, especially with the connection he has with Kirk Cousins. And that way the offense is going to be geared, I think, towards him. I look at it as scary money that he's going to get. I think he's going to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league maybe after next season. And I don't know if you guys disagree. I don't know if the Vikings decide to play games with him and stuff like that. But, it's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
But did you have any other?
No, my other one was just going through the list of the free agents available, but we can do the other thing. The free agency available is more just like, let's guess where people are going to go, but really that's not fun for the listeners. So We'll go into your little AFC round robin thing you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something interesting. Now, my question to you guys is what pick do you want?
It doesn't matter.
Nate?
Yeah, I don't care. I can go first. I can go last. Doesn't matter.
All right. I'll go second. So you guys decide who's first or third.
Nate's the guest. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I'll go last.
All right. So go ahead, Nate.
I picked the Bills.
The Bills.
Oh, bastard.
Wow. All right. That already threw me off. So I'm going to go homer pick here. I'm going to go Bengals.
Interesting.
Yep.
Shocker.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You got 2 picks here, Christian.
Yeah, I got 2 picks. So I think I'm between 3 teams, and it's really tough right now. I guess I can pick 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Broncos.
Broncos,
Yep.
number 3. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, a little bit of a stretch, I know.
All right.
Because
Hey, it's
and then with my other pick, I still have a really good feeling. We have 3 teams. So we're talking. Didn't really prepare for this, so don't judge. I think I'm going to pick New England.
New England.
Yep.
So New England is the first pick in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going Chiefs.
Okay.
All right. Chargers.
Okay.
That was going to be my next pick.
All right.
And then, this is tough.
See, like this is like when they were doing it on TV. Like I was watching, I was like, damn.
I don't want to pick 2 teams from the same division, but I'll take the Raiders.
All right. That was going to be my pick next. So, all right. So to recap, the Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Raiders, Patriots. Broncos and Patriots. I forgot your 2 picks already. So that's how. All right. I'm going to go Colts.
Solid pick. So is it the last pick here?
2 picks.
I
So
get 2?
you get 2 because we're picking 12 teams. So 4 rounds.
So there'll be like I said, 4 teams left out. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go 2 from the same division as. Oh man. I think right now I'm going to pick. I'm gonna pick Cleveland
Okay.
with Deshaun and Amari, and I am going to. I just have a. I'm stuck between 2 because you have one with a really good running back and the team that added really good talent. But my gut tells me I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Tennessee, okay.
Yep, Derrick Henry factor. I think you have to put that in there.
All right.
It really hurt me not to pick Miami.
So you went Browns, Titans.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go Miami. I'm going to go the Dolphins. Last pick, Nate.
Give me Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay. All right. Now here's the funny thing. Okay. So since we didn't pick 4 teams, okay, in the NFL networks, the 4 teams that were picked last, all right, are the 4 teams that we have left out. So that's interesting. So the Jaguars, Texans, Jets, and Steelers. Okay. None of us picked them. Okay. So Nate's teams were the Bills. Help me, Nate. Chargers.
Raiders. And the Ravens.
The Ravens. Okay. And mine were the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Dolphins. And yours were?
I had the Broncos, Patriots, Titans, Browns.
Okay. All right. I feel I win, because, that's just me. But think about how tough that was. Okay. Now, if we did the same thing for the NFC.
Let's do it.
Well, my thing is this, is at the end, it's going to be the first 4 picks, I think, are almost unanimous.
Probably.
Okay. But if you guys want to, let's do the NFC real fast. Okay. I wish I had a piece of paper and I wrote this down, but we're recording so I can write it down later because I want to see how close we are to what's going on. But interestingly enough, the Ravens were the last pick in the second round by the NFL Network, and the Patriots were the last pick of the third round. So it was, you picked the Patriots really high. That shocked me. That was the one shock out of all this, is you picking the Patriots really high. They're really high on the Browns. They're low on the Broncos and the Texans. And the Titans.
Yeah. See, I'm the kind of person where I slice it, dice it. I look at the AFC West. I see many scenarios the Chiefs don't win that division, and I'm talking finish 4th. But what I'm saying is, yes, you have a great tight end, you have a great running wide receiver. Your running back position isn't that great. Your line's not that great. It's better. Your defense is still suspect, and you have one weapon. Like, it's almost like, look at the teams around you in your own division. The Broncos got significantly better.
If you finish top 12. in the AFC.
Yeah.
Okay, is it a disappointing season? Yes or no?
I mean, as good as that division is.
So
I mean,
if you finish 8 to 12,
Yeah.
okay, are you disappointed if you're in the AFC?
Yeah, because you're probably going to have 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, and that's why I picked the teams I did, because I still think the Patriots are in the playoffs. I still think
I think the tiebreaker is going to be
Yes.
ridiculously
Yep.
complicated this year
Yep.
For the AFC. So on that being said, how much do we have time?
you're good. We have 10 minutes. Still.
Okay,
It could
so
be an
Nate,
hour.
you got first pick in the NFC.
First pick in the NFC?
Yep.
Unless you want to
Rams.
switch the drafting order.
No, it doesn't matter.
All right, that's fine.
Rams.
Okay. Bucks.
Okay, so I'm crossing off teams as we go. Buccaneers. Okay. Man, you guys put me in a really tough spot here. I think as of right now, the way it sits, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna. Jeez, man. And we're doing this before the draft. That's what makes it even harder. So you don't know what anybody's doing. If I had to put it on, I'm gonna go under the assumption. I'm gonna go San Francisco.
Okay.
Yep, and I get back-to-back picks, right?
Yep.
I think with my other pick, I'm going to go. I think you're going to still find a way for. I think the Cardinals will still be relevant. I'm going Cardinals.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. So you did you not pick the Cowboys because you don't think the Cowboys are going to make the? You think those other two teams are going to make the playoffs before the Cowboys?
Well, we're not picking. We're picking playoff teams. Remember, only 4 teams have been picked so far. And
So you think that the 4 teams you think are going to be better than the Cowboys?
yes.
Okay.
I still think, in a way, whoever wins NFC East will be, like last year, the 4th worst of the winning division teams. Does that make sense? That's why I didn't pick them yet. I could see Dallas having 10 wins, winning the division, 8 wins, but all these teams we just named will have more. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I'm not picking 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds. I'm picking the 4 best teams.
Okay. So who are you? You pick the
San Francisco and the Cardinals.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here because I was all on their bandwagon this year. I'm going Vikings.
Of course you are.
Okay. I'll take the Packers.
There
Yep.
you go.
And screw it. Commanders.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go Cowboys.
Good. So
2 picks.
2 picks. Surprise. Okay. I am going to go. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Okay.
And I'm also here going to take the Panthers.
The Panthers.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Guess I could have. Yeah.
So Bears, Lions are left. Giants are left.
Bears, Lions,
Falcons,
Giants,
Saints.
Falcons, Saints, Seattle.
I'm going to go Saints.
That's who I should have picked. Picked the wrong one, but that makes sense. Go Saints.
All right. So last pick, Nate. This didn't go the way I thought it was going to go either, by the way, just so everybody knows.
No, not at all. Christian screwed everything up, I think. But,
You picked DC as the best team in the NFC. Chill out, man.
no, I picked them because they're my team, dog.
I think that's where we messed up then.
I couldn't pick Dallas, so I'm gonna pick. Screw it. I'll pick the Lions.
The Lions.
There
All
you
right.
go.
So who are the 4 that are left?
The 4 that are left are Bears, Falcons, Giants, Seattle.
Okay. I mean, if you're picking the Lions to be better than those 4,
I could see it.
yeah.
No, yeah.
I can see it.
They have
They
a good
played
quarter.
really well down the stretch, and I do think that they believe in Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they actually have a quarterback. The other ones don't really have a quarterback.
You know, that was a little bit.
It was harder.
It was interesting, but it was a stretch. Like the last, I would even say, after the 7th team, which was what? So I think that was
Was that Dallas? Was it 17 people picked?
no Nate's 3rd round pick was the 7th team.
Washington.
Washington.
Yep.
So, but then I picked the Cowboys after that. But it was you're looking at you're stretching it.
Yeah.
And I think the top two teams are the top two teams.
Yeah.
Where I think the Packers, the Vikings, you can even throw in Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders. In my opinion, Cardinals and 49ers, all about the same. All around 500. Maybe not the Cowboys, because I think the Cowboys, we're underestimating what the Cowboys' record is going to be.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're going to make any noise, but I think their regular season record is going to be decent.
Yeah.
I look at it, and I want to justify something here without sounding like a homer. So, I mean, I know you guys are probably going to give me crap, but you got to look at it like this. We went 7-10 as the Commanders last year, and we had Taylor Heineke as our quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you bring in a quarterback who can actually throw the ball more than 30 yards, and you still have Antonio Gibson. You brought back J.D. McKissick. You've got Terry. You've got Curtis Samuel coming back healthy. You get Chase Young and Montez Sweat back. I mean, I think that the Commanders could be a team that could make some noise. It really does fall on Carson Wentz's shoulders, unfortunately. But I think that they're a team that, we don't have to play. We have the easiest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah.
We don't have to play the number one team. We don't have to play the Rams or the Bucks or the Packers or, like the Cowboys do. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into, before the season starts, during the preseason, we'll definitely go through and pick our teams, where we think they're going to land and what we think is going to happen. I mean, because there's still a lot left to happen in this offseason that we're not expecting. I think there's this draft, the first round, I think you're going to see some moving. I think you're going to see people trading down because they don't like the value of where they're picking. And it would not shock me if the Panthers trade down. It wouldn't shock me if the Giants traded down, in one of their picks. It wouldn't shock me if the Lions traded down, even though I think they're stupid if they do, because you're going to get a generational, in my opinion, possibly a generational talent at a defensive end, because I think those should be the top 3 picks. If not, you want to take the cornerback or the safety.
Kyle Hamilton. Ritter is
you keep asking why.
I just
Hamilton's dropping
while he's in the 12s to DC, and if I'm DC and he ends up falling to 12 to DC, if I'm DC, I am lighting the city on fire. I'm so excited that he fell to them. But I'm like,
I think the reason why he's falling is because he ran a 4.5 40. He's not the fastest guy on the field, but Sean Taylor ran a 4.51. Ed Reed ran a 4.59. Yeah. So it's that speed is not necessarily what you need at the safety position. You need football IQ.
Yeah,
which that kid has.
He to me, he's the best safety in this draft by far, and I think he might one of the few to go in the first round. That I'm just saying, if he does make it to DC's pick 12, they should be absolutely ecstatic. But I don't. In a way, I could see him going as early as 2 to Detroit. I mean, I don't see why he doesn't go top 5.
The consensus is that kid from Georgia is going number 1.
Yeah.
So that means that means you have Hutchinson being there still, and the kid from Oregon.
Yep.
Now the kid from Oregon for me is too arrogant and too. I don't know if he's coachable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but he's a freak.
Yeah, dude, he's a monster.
But Hutchinson to me, and the funny thing is I was watching NFL Network and pretty much they shut me up because I said, okay, he had one great year in college, and then they mentioned 6 or 7 players that had one great year in college that people passed on because he only had that one great year. And one of them, it was like TJ Watt. It was, so there was 3 or 4
Aaron
other
Donald.
Guys that
Donald from Pitt.
Where I was like, oh, damn. Okay. And I didn't pay attention. I don't pay, you guys know this. I don't pay attention to college. I use you guys to, I keep seeing a name, Elam, falling to us in the first round cornerback. So I immediately, Nate, who's this kid?
Yeah.
And then I read up on him and I like what I see. His pros outweigh his cons, but I don't watch college football. So I don't know these guys.
That was one of the things that you just said about the one-hit kind of wonder players that have success. That was the same thing with Aaron Donald from Pitt. Pittsburgh is people like, man, he was really good at Pitt. Like, they had that one good year, his senior year. He plays there his whole years, but that senior year when he had like 40-something crazy-ass tackles, he had sacks out of nowhere. They were ranked 9th, and then boom, went pro. And people when they think of him, they're like, yeah, if you don't know where he's from, most people go, he's probably a Bama kid. He's probably Georgia. Like, he went to Pitt, dude.
Yeah.
And the year he got there, they were the worst team in college football. Made it to 9th, one crazy year, and now look at him.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And that's this kid. One good year, but man, his year was good.
Yeah, but you
Hutchinson's good.
look at these offensive linemen that are going to be dropping, where in most seasons they're a top 3 pick. Evan Neal to me and the other kid, I can't remember where he's from, but they're the top 2 offensive linemen, and people are saying it's 1A, 1B. It depends on what you want.
You're talking about Charles Cross?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And for me, I'm like, okay, and then you're watching these offensive linemen that are
Going
beasts,
to teens.
that are going teens to
Early 20s.
20s, and I'm like that Central Michigan kid. I don't know if you've seen his tape or anything. They're having him go to the Cowboys or lower, and I'm like, that kid is an absolute beast. But the defense skill players and defensive line this year is ridiculously
You're talking
good.
the kind of draft where if you're a team like the Cowboys and you're looking at either a top wide receiver, which I don't agree with, but you're looking at top linemen, top players, if you can potentially get the best, I know people don't like him, but the top center that far late in the draft or the top tackle or guard at pick 24, you are running to the bank with that.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen. The Jerry Jones talked about trading up. If you're trading up, you're going for a wide receiver.
Well, didn't you get Martin at 22?
It was later in the draft, yeah.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be. They thought it was going to be Manziel, but they picked the offense. I think they
and that
picked
doesn't
Martin.
happen often enough to go pick 24. Dude, you
Right.
can get the top lineman at pick 24 in this draft because the defensive talent and wide receiver talent is so
Right.
deep.
So, but it's. I mean, this offseason's been crazy. It's been
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Yep.
So, Nate, I just want to say thank you. Do you have any closing remarks or anything like that before we sign off?
No, guys, I just thank you for having me on again. Look forward to being on in the future. And, I'll talk to you guys.
Yes, and remember what I said. I want me, you, Logan, and Christian. I want to tape us. I want us live, either Facebook Live or do a video and put it on YouTube. The 4 of us debating for a whole episode. So I want to make that happen soon too. And we got to put some pressure on Logan to open the league and get the draft order going for our fantasy league so we can start trading some draft picks.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that, man. I'm so
Yes.
ready for fantasy.
Yes. So, but Nate, thanks for taking time out of the day and joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
See you, man.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, that was Nate. Like Marcus said at the beginning, special guest at this point. Nate's not really a special guest. He's just one of us.
Yeah.
Have him on as much as we can. But
I just love the insight. I love the conversations.
Yep.
I love where they go. And that's why I like talking to Logan too, because they, it brings a different perspective.
Yep.
Like I like talking to Joey because of the different perspective he brings from a different team or just from a football fan that's been a football fan for a long time that sees something that we might not.
Yep.
And I know Nate knows a lot more about structures, caps, things like that, some players and stuff than we do. But it's always fun having him on and having that different voice. So other than that, next week, and then we have to take a week off. We have to take the week of the draft off because I will not be here.
Yep.
Unless I call in and you come over and you set everything up. But
we could potentially make that
yes,
happen.
because we could actually do it Thursday night watching the draft live.
I could sit here
for a little
3
while.
hours and watch the draft on my phone while I call you on the laptop.
And I'll be sitting downstairs watching it on a big screen TV,
I wouldn't
talking
get home
on my
until
phone.
11 o'clock if I sat in this garage alone, pitch black, doing this recording. I'd be like, pick 20. Every time Dallas is picked after 20, I've never made it awake long enough.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a struggle to stay up to the last pick in the first round for the Bengals. But,
Yeah.
But other than that, everybody, thanks for listening. Share us if you like. And if you want to be on, let me know.
Yeah, let us know. Guys, have a great Easter weekend. See ya.
Easter weekend. Happy Easter.
See you guys.
Bye.